Hello, in this video I'm going to talk about why I don't recommend painting for beginner artists and why I think it's so much better if you focus on drawing instead. So for context, I've been doing digital painting for almost 5 years and I've done amazing progress on this. I wasn't born talented or anything. I'll be showing you here some of my older drawings to show you that I was actually pretty trash. I was really bad at it. But I really enjoyed doing painting, even more than drawing. Like, I was trying to juggle drawing and painting at the same time, but I always had this fascination with painting specifically. It always seemed almost magical when I saw people paint like this. So I was watching a lot of painting, time lapses. I was watching the Cynics painting tutorials there, and I was actually making a lot of progress. But to be honest with you, I was also neglecting drawing a lot. So I was focusing a lot on painting. But then I realized, okay, drawing and painting are actually two very different things. I always compare drawing and painting like playing two separate instruments or learning to play two separate instruments. So it's actually really hard to focus on both at the same time. This is the reason why when some of my students ask me about both things, oh, I want to focus on painting too and drawing at the same time. Yeah, you can do that, but it's going to take a lot of energy. And I will always recommend that you stick with one if you want to learn the fastest and the most effective, because you're usually going to like doing one more than the other, right? So for example, right now I'm more focused on drawing. I haven't been painting a lot lately because even though I don't need to really learn too much anymore because I'm already a pretty good level, to my current standards, it no longer feels as good or as productive as drawing feels right now. Drawing from imagination and just understanding the world has become like my main focus and the thing that I'm enjoying the most over anything else. And I honestly think this is going to give you more mileage than if you focus entirely on painting like I did, which I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad thing. Look, it was really fun to learn how to paint. It was a fairly long journey and I was enjoying it a lot. It was really fun. And if you find it fun, like, I'm not saying that you don't need to learn to paint at all or anything. In fact, if you look at my channel and if you followed me for a while, you know that most of my YouTube career has been just painting videos and painting tutorials and teaching you how to paint. And so let me present to you my argument of why I think painting is not as productive as drawing, or that, drawing is like more, it's going to get you further. I mean, if your goal is to improve as fast as possible, drawing should be the priority. Because look, when it comes to painting, you only really have two options. You have two ways of doing it. You either paint from references and do portraits, environments, so you basically paint from references using a reference, or you paint from imagination. And so here's the thing, it is kind of tricky. I don't think anyone properly explains how this works. Painting using a reference and painting from imagination, they are so ridiculously different. And you can be amazing at painting from references, but you can be very bad at painting from imagination. This is how different they are from each other, and they require like different learning fundamentals. And I'm going to explain you how this works. So when you're painting from a reference, and you're trying to get your values to look accurate and you're trying to get everything to look pretty much like the reference, if that's your goal, if your goal is to aim for some more hyper-realism style. Weirdly enough, what I always say is that you should focus not on understanding what you're painting. In fact, the less that you understand what you're painting and the more you focus on the light and the values that you're seeing, the better it's going to be, and the more accurate and the easier it's going to be to achieve hyper-realism. So I just want to make that very clear. When your goal is to paint from a reference, you should almost forget that you're looking at a person if you're painting a portrait, or if you're painting an environment, you should forget that you're painting whatever it is that you're painting, and you should only focus on the lights and the shadows. But weirdly enough, when you're painting from imagination, you should have a lot of knowledge on what you're trying to paint. And at the same time, you're using some of the fundamentals from painting from references, or like painting in general, right? You still need to be able to create form, otherwise everything is going to look flat. And you do this by practicing your values and understanding how the volume of things work. But that is the key. When you're painting from imagination, it's kind of tricky because you are using the same fundamentals that you use when you're drawing from imagination. Which, to be fair, is not even drawing. It's not necessarily drawing, but it's more like observing things, observing the world and understanding how everything works. And this is going to sound very weird, but I think that the best way of practicing painting from imagination is drawing from imagination. And drawing from imagination is not easy. Like, I'm currently still learning how to do it, and I'm teaching you how to do it. I'm making a lot of progress on it. But I always think, bro, you might as well just focus on this first, and then eventually, if you want to paint, you do it. But focusing mostly on painting is not going to be as productive. Again, if your goal is to focus on improving as fast as possible. That is my current goal, and I'm enjoying it. Like, this is my way of enjoying art. But if the way you have to enjoy art is just having fun, and, you know, maybe you're not so focused on improving as fast as you can, and you just want to have fun and do some painting, then fair enough, do whatever you want. But I'm just telling you my personal goals and what I want to achieve here. So why I don't recommend painting for beginners too much. Like, if you really want to learn how to paint, okay, fair enough, go do it. But if you asked me, I wouldn't recommend it. The simple reason is because if I'm going to teach you to paint, you're going to use a reference. You're not going to be doing this from imagination, because that is going to be insanely unproductive for like the painting purpose here. And it's going to be really hard. For example, this is very embarrassing, but I'm showing you here some of my oldest, like some of my first digital paintings that I've done completely from imagination, and I failed because I had no idea what I was doing. So using a reference is always easier. But again, I just think right now, you know, after doing this shit for over 4 years, that is not as productive. If you compare it to, like, it's not productive because you're not focused on observing things and understanding the thing that you're painting and understanding how that thing works. You're just focusing on quite the opposite. You're doing quite the opposite, which can be fun. Can be in some way even therapeutic, whatever. But if I had to pick between drawing from imagination and painting, I'm gonna choose drawing from imagination. You know why? Because it's really embarrassing that you've been painting for years and that you've been drawing just by copying stuff from reference. Because, you know, that's also what I was doing alongside with painting, because I didn't know any better. I didn't know how to do things. What I was doing was just drawing, but instead of drawing from imagination, because that was too hard, I didn't know how to do that, I would just copy from another artist, or I would copy from photos. And it was very embarrassing because if people knew that I was an artist, but I couldn't fucking draw. Like, if I went outside and somebody asked me to draw something or draw something, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it because I never learned to understand things to such a fundamental level that I could replicate them from imagination, which right now is what I'm currently doing, and I wish that I had started sooner. I really wish I had stumbled upon one of these videos when I was like 15 and I was learning painting and drawing at the same time, and I was trying to combine these things, but it never really made too much sense. Nobody really explained me the differences, and God, I don't even think most artists kind of know this to like such a specific level like this, because most people just get so absorbed by one thing, you know, they kind of neglect and push to the side the thing that is slightly harder, because that takes like a bigger learning curve, you know. It's just not something that no one really talks about. And again, looking back, it was embarrassing, because I was really good at painting. Like, even a few years ago when I was still kind of learning, I was really good at painting, but my drawings were shit. My drawings were lacking so much, and it was really just embarrassing to be so good at painting, and then somebody asked me, what about drawing? But I couldn't do shit because I didn't know what to do. And so if you ask me, okay, which one should I prioritize? I will, personally, based on what I'm currently doing, you should prioritize drawing. And not only drawing, but drawing with intention, with as much intention as you can, and focusing on learning and observing things, even aside from drawing. Drawing from imagination is 80% understanding things, 80% observing how the world works, and then drawing what you know from there. Personally, today, without even thinking about it, I would trade my current painting skills for like an extra boost on my drawing skills. So imagine if I could go back in time and I could use all of that time that I spent painting on drawing from imagination, I would do it. I would absolutely go back, because I think painting is something that you can learn later on and it's gonna be fine. So again, I just think it's embarrassing if you can paint hyper-realism, but you can't even draw like a simple drawing of a person, of the face, of the human body, without having to look at a photo. Now, if you want me to help you drawing from imagination, if you want me to personally teach you You can send me a DM on my Instagram, or you can just check the first link in the description. Thank you so much for watching. I'm sorry if this video wasn't as practical or as useful, but I just wanted to kind of get this out of my mind because this is something I've been thinking about a lot lately. So hopefully I can give you at least a tiny bit of direction. Anyways, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.